Okay guys, so just getting ready to start this next little project, kind of a bigger project I should say. This is a little giant power hammer and 25 pounder, little giant, and basically this is going to be a little bit of a different one. This is actually for a friend that wanted me to, the plan was to kind of, bring it over, take a look at it, give it a once over, and see if there's anything that's really wrong with it. He just kind of bought it, and he's building a new shop, and wants it to be ready to go when he has his new shop built and stuff like that, so he can actually use it. He's played around with it a little bit, made some things, but didn't go crazy just in case there was something really bad wrong with it. Now it's a very old machine. It's literally 100 years old. My friend reached out to the Little Giant company, and he gave them the serial number, and they were able to trace it back to its ship date, which shipped on 1/22/1922. So literally almost 100 years to the day, I'm gonna be working on this machine, which is really cool in my opinion. So anyway, like I said, the plan was to sort of clean it up, get a good look at it, see if there's anything glaringly wrong, and sort of take it from there and go kind of piece by piece. Now I'll say this, I will treat this machine as if it were gonna be a machine in my shop, just like when I restore any other kind of machine like this machine or even the drill grinder machine. Whether I'm keeping them for myself or I'm selling them, I treat them as if they were going to be my own in my own shop and how I would want it to be. And I like things to be usable. I'm usually function over form type of a person, but I also want it to be good looking. So just a couple of first things that stand out right away to me is obviously the shroud for the flywheel on the back of the motor here. That's no big deal, we can get some bolts for that. Then back here, let me get a light. So obviously the motor, this bracket that's on here is obviously an aftermarket type of deal. They drilled holes and put bolts in it. I don't hate it. It holds it securely, but I will say I think we could do a little better. Like right here, there's just this one bolt with a nut on the end of it that's kind of forcing the engine or the motor out to put tension on the pulley. I think that we could do, obviously the bolt idea is good, but instead of having a nut on the end of the bolt, I think machining a piece that would receive onto here, cut out a little L shape, so that when the bolt contacts the plate, it's pushing the entire plate. Just has a better, sort of more firm contact. So just a machine part for here and there. Down here where the hoop is to engage the clutch, I think it's a little loose down here, right? You can see there's quite a lot of, I know that there's a lot of slop in these anyway, but that thing moves about 1/4 of an inch, and I think that could be a little tighter with some washers there. This is the trigger, right? So it attaches down here. There's a return spring right there, so when you press down on the pedal, it puts tension on this rod that then forces these forks, looks like a wrench kinda, it forces that fork forward and engages the clutch, right? So that's how that operates. Now this thing does have Babbitt bearings, so Babbitt bearing here, here, and here. Now there are shims for these Babbitts. Now I know that as the Babbitt wears, you're supposed to remove the shim. We'll get a look in there and see what the Babbitts look like. I suspect they're pretty good. They feel pretty good, but there's tension on everything right now, so it's kind of hard to tell. But once we get it apart a little bit, things might change. So we'll have a look. But yeah, that's it. Now these dies that are in here, My friend Mike thought that they were maybe worn or dented. Now I had another friend over here that has several of these hammers, and he said that no, that's pretty common, and that those dies looked pretty good. So again, we'll get a look at them. You know, we'll take them out of there, we'll get them on the bench, we'll get a better look, and we'll see what's going on. But yeah, so those are just some of the things right off the bat that I'm noticing, and yeah, we'll start taking things apart and see what happens. Now, I will say, for this rod, I think it could be better. So I think that down here where it's connected, I actually like what they did there with the fork and then the bolt through it. That's kind of a good idea. I think that should be the same thing up here rather than just a threaded. Right now it's just a threaded, there's just a nut on the other side, so it's just threaded on there. That's eventually gonna wear out and bend and give up. So I think there should be a fork here as well, just like below. And then in the middle, there should be a turnbuckle, so you can adjust it whether you want the action to be tighter, you know, right when you want it to engage right away, or if you want a little more slop in it, you could, if there was a turnbuckle there, you could adjust for that. So that's something that I would recommend doing as well. So yeah, so that's it. Gonna get a start on it and see what we can see if we can get this baby back into a little bit better shape. So this is supposed to be drifted out. There's a spot for a drift key. Let's see if I can show you guys. There's a spot for a drift key to drift this out, but the problem is somebody tapped on the jib on this side. It might be tough for you guys to see that. Let me see if I can. Somebody tapped on the jib on this side and it mushroomed it over, so that's going to get caught on that die coming back through, but it'll come out. Okay, so first sort of problem is can't really get this band off. This band won't come off until this drift key is out, or this jib is out, because it's keyed into the die and into, well, not really, it's keyed into the die, but it's not keyed into the dovetail on the ways here. But the problem is I can get it to about here to get it out, but the problem is over here on this side. I'm gonna see if I can get you guys a shot. On this side, somebody hit this. Let's see if I can do it without getting in the way of the camera. Somebody hit this like this to get it out, and when they did that, they mushroomed that over, so that won't go past the keyway on the die right there. So I'm gonna have to, I can't get a grinder in there to grind that off, I don't think. I'm gonna have to try to knock it off with a cold chisel or something to get that out of there. I'm gonna try this little die grinder first. Yeah, I think that's gonna work out real fine. Look at that. Kind of hard for you guys to see it, but I'm gonna try to grind this down and get this out. Got the side pretty good. Now I'm gonna just try to get the top a little bit because it's mushroomed out over the top a little. Okay, so I think that worked out real well. I was able to get the face here and the top here. The only problem is I can't get this backside. It's sort of mushroomed over on this side. Let's see if I can show you from up here. Sort of mushroomed over here. So hopefully that's just enough to be able to get that sucker out. I'm gonna try to drift it out now. Okay, so I've been able to try to get this. I've been able to get this thing real loose, slides in and out. But I think that because this spot right here, this backside is just, it won't come out. All right, guys. So what I think I'm going to do here is I've gotten this driven back in there pretty far, and it just stops. It's completely wedged in there. Now, when I tap it from the other side, it slides out real easy. It'll come right out of there. But I don't want to continue to just keep hitting on that and then, you know, hitting on the drift key in the back. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to cut this plate right here. It's welded on both sides. Let's see if I can get you around here. And then there's a weld right there. I got to cut through that weld. And I suspect that that nut and bolt will come out of there. But then I can just pull this collar off and slide the drift key out to the right. All right, guys, so got this cut now, and this should come out real easy. Now, I'm wondering if this die slides. Let me see if I can show you guys. This die is meant to slide in here, and I wonder if this collar, if this part on the collar, where there's a hole, there's a gap, and then it looks like a threaded hole. I wonder if there's something like a spacer that's supposed to go in here to stop the die moving. I'm not 100% sure, but let's get this collar off of here, and then we'll at least get that drift key out of there and the die out. Okay, there she is. Set this guy over here for now. Now this drift key should come out of here real easy. There she goes. Nuts out. Holy, that was a bugger. He comes out now. We'll clean that all up. I'll start soaking those parts over there, and I'll start working on getting this this side out now. Start getting this guy out of here. All right, so I'm looking at this the jaw of this hammer, and I don't see any set screws anywhere. It looks like there's just this one jib that's just friction fit in there, and on the other side it's mushroomed over pretty good. So I'm gonna try to tap it out this way and see what happens. Try to set the light up for you guys so you can see something. So just getting this out of here now. You can see it's pushed through on the other side pretty good. Just gonna tap it out the rest of the way here. Let's see if I can get you guys the shot. It was a bugger. I don't want to drop this key. All right, so keys out, and now this jaw is in there quite well. So let's give her a little love tap. And it looks like they had a shim. Oh, let's see if I can show you. Looks like they had a shim on the top of here, right here on this corner. So it was like this. They had it shimmed off. And this is just the drift key. It's all mushroomed over. We'll clean that all up. We'll fix that. I'm gonna got all these parts right now, and here's what the machine's looking like. So I'm just gonna go ahead and get those parts cleaned up and organized, and then just squirting them down with a little of this engine degreaser before they go in the ultrasonic. Try to preemptively clean these things when they're really dirty before I put them in my ultrasonic. Okay, so let's see if I can show you guys. This pin right here, this guy comes out. That just comes out. I don't know if it's supposed to be spring loaded down in there or what, but it comes out. And we'll get down in there and clean that hole out, but that's one pin. That guy can go right in the ultrasonic with everybody else. Now underneath, I got this jaw out and I found that there's shims underneath this jaw as well, a couple of brass shims. There's a pin that goes all the way through here, but it's all right, guys, so we just got these things kind of provisionally cleaned, right? This is the top hammer die from the top of the machine. This is the bottom one. And they're looking pretty good, right? Again, this is just kind of provisionally cleaned. So these don't really have any real big, bad dings in them. There is a defect here in the center of this one where it kind of dishes in a little bit right here. The pin that goes in the bottom of the jaw. This is just that, the key that holds this in with the collar. And this is going to be need to be either replaced, or we could mill this down and get all of these really bad spots out of this thing. This end's really bad. It's tough to see on the video, but it's all really mushroomed out pretty badly. This is the top keyway. This one's in a little worse shape, I think. Just really mushroomed over quite badly. Savable, salvageable, I think just needs to be cleaned up. Same thing with that one. These are the two pieces that were in the front of this thing like this. There's a kind of just a solid piece, and then there's a wedge that was holding this collar in place. Again, I'm not really too sure about this collar, honestly. The welds up here don't look awful, but when you flip it over on the other side, might be tough for you guys to see this. Let me see if I can rotate it. But right here, there's like this is like an old school welding technique where they couldn't get a good fit up down here. So they stuck a rod in there to take up the gap. I mean, I don't know. And then on this side, this weld is broken right here. This weld's fixing to break. They always start in the corner and then peel their way up. So the one thing that this part does have going for it is the fact that it's still in the shape of the neck of the casting, and that's still pretty good. But I don't know, I'll have to talk to Mike and see what he wants to do about that. Over here, the keyways here cleaned up real good. There's this one spot right here where the casting snapped off the corner right there. It's an old, really old, looks like an old brake. Something probably just got pinched in there. So, but I mean, for being a 100-year-old machine, it's looking pretty good. Little ding here, but not awful. Inside the keyway right here, let's see if I can show it. So inside the dovetail right here on the face, it is worn in there a little bit. I expect that's supposed to be flat and not have that up like that, but not awful. So now I'm just going to commence to taking the top part of the machine off, and I think it's just held in here by these 3 bolts on this side and then 3 bolts on the other side. It is shimmed. I think it's like copper plating that they have in here, and the dovetails in there look decent from what I can see. Let's see if I can get the light over there for you guys. Dovetails don't look awful. I don't see any real bad dings or chip marks. So everything like that looks pretty good. So again, just gonna take this part off, let it slide down off of this sort of pin right here, and get that over on the bench. Okay, so just getting ready to take this thing off, and I have it held on here by just this bolt on this side and one on the other side. Okay, so those shims just came out. Look like copper. Okay, the shims came out on that side. These ones appear to be brass and copper. Okay. Got this guy off. Cowling, and it forces this dovetail these ways back into these ways and holds it tight, and that's what those shims are for, is to adjust the tension on how much compression is being placed on this these ways, right? And the only thing holding this on is this wrist stud right here. So once I loosen this whole thing will slide off. This entire mechanism will slide off of this pin, and get that over on the table. All right, so just got her cleaned up a little bit, and got her broke loose, got her move a little bit, and now I'm just gonna loosen it. Just loosen this pin, let it drop off of this pin here, and then I'll bring it over to the bench. Okay. So that part's off. This is what we're looking like now. So we'll see what that's like under there. When we take these cap head screws off, we'll take a look at that babbitt. I suspect it's gone, but we'll see. But the dovetails here look real well. They look like they're in real good shape. I don't see any bad marks or bad dings in them at all. So that's good. So that's where we're at. All right, so we just got these parts off here. This is that shroud, and I think this part's really cool looking. Look at that. Doesn't that look like it's like one of those like bison skull or like a medieval like knight helmet or something? Anyway, like I said, the top of this needs to be sheared off nice and clean, maybe rounded edges, clean that up a little bit. These nuts and bolts, I was going to try to sonic them and save them, but I don't think it's worth saving these. These are all pretty well mushroomed and tough to get the socket on. It's a 7/8 socket. It's 3/4 on this side. But as you can see, like this one's bent, and I think it's better to just get new nuts and bolts and just replace those for the cost of the nuts and bolts. This is the part that holds the top hammer. These, the ways on here, again, great shape, no real bad spots, just typical surface rust from what you'd expect. I can't really tell on these ones yet, but they look pretty good for the where the hammer, the die hammer goes right in here. I suspect they're going to be good. Again, they are shimmed. It's tough to see, but there's shims in there. See if I can get you the shot, maybe. Tough to see. But they're in there. They're like on, there's like studs inside there that they're sitting in, like little. But yeah, this part seems to be okay. I'm just gonna clean it up. I'll sit it in my big Tupperware bin and just squirt it down with degreaser and get that cleaned up. All right, so just got this guy in the parts washer now, and just giving him a scrub. I'm using the bristle brush. I can't use the GoPro when I'm doing that because it flecks everywhere. But you know, getting there. All right, so just kind of have this part that holds the top die provisionally cleaned. Again, the ways are in pretty good shape on both sides. You know, what you'd expect for a 100-year-old machine, but nothing bad. These pins, these capture pins, are they're in good shape. I tapped them back and forth. I didn't see any big ridges in them where this had kind of worn in. Normal wear, but I don't think it's necessary to replace these. And the same goes for these guys down here. The keyways are in good shape, right? Again, a little wore out, but I wouldn't throw the baby out with the bathwater on that. The top here, where this wrist claps around the pin on the machine, what they did was the casting originally had a flat spot over here casted in, where the flat of the nut would go up against it, and it would tighten that. It would tighten that wrist. Well, that casting over time has worn out, and what they did was they welded this in here, which I don't hate. I mean, it is what it is. It's kind of hard to weld to cast, so that would just be something that I would be careful of. I would leave it alone, but keep an eye on it and see if that cast breaks right there. Under here, you can see pretty good shape, right? There are some spots here where it's mushroomed over. I would just touch these with a light file everywhere where it's mushroomed out, like here. There's a couple spots. Here's one. There's a bunch there. So yeah, I'll take these all down with a file and get it all nice and square. But again, nothing crazy. So that's that part. And it did have 3 shims underneath the die, 2 on one side and 1 on the other. And I mean, I don't know. When I get the machine back together, I'll figure out how much gap needs to be in there. It probably needs to be that much, but I probably won't use the same shim stock. I'll use different shim stock. But there's only one way to know. I did uncover some markings when I was cleaning this up. This number is kind of tough to see. I'm gonna say it's a 996. I'm not sure. Up here, there's an H2. A little higher up, there's a P, not sure, something L. It's kind of wore out. So that's that part. Pretty well cleaned up. It's pretty much a finished part, truly, except for cleaning up the where the die goes, just where that's mushroomed out there. Clean the ways up a little bit more with some steel wool. And all right, guys, so got this piece cleaned up. This is that shroud piece. Kind of looks like a bison head. If you're looking at it like that, I kind of think it looks like a knight's helmet. Anyway, so got it cleaned up and was looking at it. First thought it was okay, but then got to cleaning it more. And this side is in great shape, beautiful. And this side is just, it's in really bad shape. It's got a big crack right here. It may have to be built up with weld and then machined flat, because the pits are so deep in it that if I machine it flat now, there's not going to be enough thickness left over to support it. So this may have to be, this whole face might have to be rebuilt with weld and then machined flat, or just try to shim it again. But you know, you can put shims against that flat stuff, that's fine. But this side, for some reason, I'm not sure, it was like maybe next to it's probably in a blacksmith shop. So whoever my friend bought it from may have had it right next to their forge, and it was always super hot right there or something. I don't know, because that's what it reminds me of. When I see stuff like that, that makes me think that this was like scorched. But anyway, nothing too serious. Nothing that can't be fixed, that's for sure. But yeah, so that's what we're looking like. That part's in great shape. Yeah. So anyway, that's it. That's it for part 1. And we'll start looking at this Babbitt bearing next, maybe. See what we're gonna do with that. See if that's in good shape or not. I suspect it's not with that much movement. I think it's gotta be, or it should be a little tighter than that. So it's at the top of the stroke right there. That's at the bottom of the stroke. Quite a bit of movement there. So anyway, so let's take a look. That's pretty much it for part 1, guys. So looking real good, actually. It's in pretty good shape. That looks real good. One more quick. These will all clean up. So, all right, That's it, boys. Stay tuned for part 2.